Hey, good morning, everyone. I am back with the next stage of this Trashy journal. So the cover that we did in the last video, I have now done the inside, and I did it without you because, I don't know, I just think, my gosh, nobody wants to watch me do all of that stuff and dry it. And so, yeah, so I did it. I did it a lot like I did the masterboard um, for the Peachy journal. I just glued down book page as a background, and then I just kind of altered it a little bit, more simply than the other masterboard. But what I did was I took my brayer and just a couple of colors of acrylic paint, and just kind of, smushed it, and then rolled it on top. And then I did just these two little texture paste elements. I did a stamp right there, and then I have reinforced the fold, the spine. This book doesn't really have a spine because it's just one signature, but the fold I have reinforced with fabric, a thin, very thin fabric, because this is getting, pretty thick. So that when I put the large holes, because I'm going to bind it just with a piece of ribbon, then it will make this fold sturdier. So this, oh, and then I sewed around. I have some black thread on the front and some brown on the inside. So I haven't decided yet about a closure. I may do my regular button and bead closure, or I may do just a button and a single elastic, like a hair tie. I'm not sure. Anyway, so I haven't done anything for a closure yet, but this is now ready for the signature to be bound. And speaking of the signature, here it is, and it's getting thick because I've had to start altering some of the things before I bind it. Some people, bind their books, or they decorate their pages before they bind their books. I tend to bind first, because I like generally a really tight, secure binding, and I like all of the pages to be snug and fit well against the binding. And so I tend to bind first and decorate later. But there are, when you do some alterations, which you kind of need to do when you're working with junk, many of those alterations have to be done before you bind, like the envelopes. So I wanted to do some hand dyeing of the envelopes, which I've done, but that has to be done, before you bind it in. So I put the signatures together, and then I go through and kind of decide what I want to alter ahead of time, and then when I remove those things, then I put a little post-it. The orange window envelope goes here, so that I don't forget, what I wanted. So this is the orange envelope, and I'm going to alter that in just a minute. Then we'll put it back in the signature. So this envelope I already took out. I dyed it a little bit, and then just did some stenciling with those same colors, that are matching the book illustrations. So that goes back where it goes. Then I did some dyeing on this note page. Here's the canvas paper short, which I have dyed. And I haven't done any other decorating because I'll wait to do that when I, do the decorating. But that much had to be done ahead of time. So that's, looks like we're, except there's, I have a postcard page noted here. So, and then, so I'm going to do that with you as well, just right now. And then this, I had to alter this page, which now doesn't lay very well, but I'm hoping it will once we get it bound. And this envelope, because I wanted to send that through the embosser. I did, I put this, pasted that there on the back for a little bit of journaling space anyway, so that's going to get tied in there. And then this creates a little file slot just to keep, other things if I want. Anyway, so there's the signature now for this. So we have two things to alter right now. We have an orange window envelope, and we have that postcard page. So I wanted to do that with you just so that you understand, how I alter some of this stuff. This is Save a Homeless Pet's Life, a junk mail envelope. And so I wanted to cover that. So I'm just going to use one of the illustrations from the book and just paste it over that. So this is still going to be a pocket here in the top, but that's going to get covered up. So what I've done is I've just done a little bit of stitching around that. It has to be faux stitching because if I were to sew that down, then it would ruin the pocket. So I just did the false stitching, and now I'm just going to glue this over the top of that. Yep. And the more you can kind of keep it away from the fold, the better it's going to be in the signature, because the closer it gets to the fold, then it starts buckling everything. Okay, so that's good. I'm actually at this point not going to do anything here because it doesn't have any distracting print or anything on it. But here on the back, you've got this envelope, the line, the fold of the envelope, and I think I'm going to make just a little clip in that circle punch here, and I'm just going to make a little divot there. And so sometimes, like if you want to distress things, it's easier to do that here before it's bound in. The bigger part, not so hard. I mean, it's awkward, but you can do it if you forget. But these little ones, it's way easier, to do that before it's bound in, because it then becomes so tight. So we'll just do a little distressing here before we put this in. All right. And then it'll be easier to do any decorating here. So you can do that. You can use washi tape and stretch across. There's a number of ways, to decorate an envelope. But today, what I'm going to do is just going to take a little stamp, not that one. Some of us have these little tiny stamps that come in stamp sets, and you know, what do you do with them? Well, this is what I'm going to do with it today. I'm going to use brown, and I'm just going to kind of go along that envelope line. And make just a little line of stamping. Okay, that's all I'm going to do. And let me just hit that because it feels like it might smear. Depending on the kind of material, the paper that's in these envelopes or flyers or what you might be using from the junk, a lot of times it has a slick kind of surface to it. Even a paper envelope like this might have some sizing on it or something. And honestly, I've learned through sad experience that the ink will sometimes smear if you're not pretty careful. So, all right, so that takes care of that. So now we will get the signature back and find where that note was. There it is. The orange envelope goes here. Take that off, and now there is we're going to do a postcard page. So sometimes you have pieces of junk that are small and too small to fold into a signature, and so you can just make one of these pages that are put together like this with a fabric spine. So I did that part already because it involved the sewing machine. But you just take a strip of fabric or lace or other paper, just a strip that will, you know, create, some people even use tape, washi tape, but washi tape is not really very sturdy in a spine. So I would rather use a sturdier paper or fabric. So I have just this page, and then we're going to alter it because, see, there is writing on it, and there's going to be plenty of, you know, printing that's just in the book that sometimes I want to cover writing, and particularly in something like a postcard, because I don't want, you know, these addresses showing. So there's a number of ways that you can cover things like that. Today we're going to do we're just going to cover this. I'm going to use this lace and create a pocket for this top part. We're going to cover this. You can, like I did on the back, you can use paint. So if I were just to put just a little bit of paint here on these addresses, and then we're just gonna, you know, smear it so the names get covered. And that is good enough for the time being, because we're also going to put some of this on top, and, you know, by the time that dries, see, that's drying too light, so I'm going to put just a dab of this darker on. And you can use like a sponge. There, that is covering it better now. Okay, so now I'm going to have to dry that. Sorry. going to put some glue on it and paste this down. All right, now I'm going to show you how to tear that off. So you put the glue on and then you dry it. And then you just tear the rest off. That creates kind of a nice edge and makes it secure, because this is going to be a pocket, so when you slide a paper in, I don't want it to, you know. All right, now I'm going to put a bead of glue around there. Have it hanging off the top a little bit. Okay, so that's just going to create a little pocket from the bottom. Okay, a top tuck or a top pocket. And I will, before I actually bind, I will go in and sew around that as well. Okay, this is one of the postcards that my friend in North Carolina sent to me. It's just so pretty. I just wanted to include that. And then on this side, we can do the same kind of thing. You can just begin to obscure the writing if you want. Sorry, that's shaking the camera probably. I'm just going to put another stamped image up here on top in an underneath layer. And then I'm going to just take this piece of that, you know, that tissue that I was telling you about in the trash video. Some tissue that came stuffed in my husband's new pair of boots. So it's quite thin, but this is going to create some space to write on if there we go. And you're still going to be able to kind of see through, and we're going to just come over here and bring that around onto the top of this page as well. And then I'm going to do another stamp. And that stamp. Okay, so that page is now ready. Just put that with Okay, so now this page is one that you can now write on. You can extend the writing off onto here, and it makes it so that you can use this now as a journal page. So that now fits into its space. Whoops, let me put the lid back on that glue. It goes, where did I have that? Right here. Okay. All right. So there we go. Now the signature is ready to bind, and this is the way it kind of is going to fit in there. It's kind of hanging over the edge, so I may do a little bit of trimming. Maybe not, we'll see. But anyway, that's going to go in like that and be bound. Then I will probably make a pocket here, but we'll do the decorating later. Thanks so much for joining me for this next step, and we'll see you next time.